which I hope to goodness that y'all can't see, but I bet you can. It didn't ask for it. It can't, I couldn't figure out, it just popped up at the last minute and I couldn't figure out how the hell to get rid of it. And then my internet sucks really bad. So inflammation in the body is not necessarily a bad thing. It's your body's one of your body's defense mechanisms. There's two types of inflammation. There's acute, which is like when you stub your toe or get a splinter or something. Then there's chronic inflammation, which builds over time. And this is the one that's a problem. This is the root of including cancers, rheumatoid arthritis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, Alzheimer's, and leaky gut. Leaky gut is a bitch to get rid of. It is fixable, but it's very difficult. So, what do you avoid? Well, you kind of know. I mean, you kind of know at least the basics. Refined starches and sugary foods are off the menu. You need to avoid breads, pastas, crackers, bagels, muffins, cookies, cakes. This reminds me, a friend of my mom's, she passed away unfortunately a couple years ago. Just a hysterically funny lady, and she was short and round. And every Monday she was on a diet, and by first coffee break, the diet was off. And her doctor finally told her one day, Terry, if it tastes good, just spit it out. I will say this has come a long way since then, and you don't have to eat crappy. You can have some baked goods if you go through the proper steps. You've got to make them clean. You've got to make them anyway. That's another video. You want to avoid sugar in all forms. And that does mean all forms. I saw a nutritionist making a video once and it was really cute and it stuck with me. She said, there's no 5-second rule. When you eat sugar, whether it's processed or not, it's not like your body goes, hold it, wait for it. Okay, it's a clean source. It's still sugar. So you need to be really careful about that. So try to avoid adding sugar. Now, that being said, I do not do that. I love my maple syrup. I try not to go crazy though. Um, you need to avoid processed fatty foods like hot dogs. And I was supposed to say hot dogs are gross, but my nephew one time when he was a little boy several years ago, what did he told one of my cousins that they were eating caribou dogs because you can get game, of course, processed into hot dogs. And so they had caribou that they'd made into hot dogs. And one of my cousins was eating it, and she was up visiting from DC, and she was just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. What is this? And my nephew doesn't even look up from his plate, and he says, it's lips and butts. But hot dogs can be good if if they're made clean. But most what you buy in the store, it's not going to be caribou dogs. It's not going to be made by the guy I know down the road. He has a processing plant, by the way. I'm not just having my neighbor do my hot. You need to avoid dairy. I'll tell you, with dairy is cheese. I don't care much about milk. I'm on. If I eat the way I'm supposed to, I'm on such a restrictive diet that I don't miss the sour cream at all. But I do like cheese, and there's something just fantastic about melted cheese. But avoid dairy. Avoid fried food. Not too hard to miss me a terrible stomach. I don't want to eat trans fats. Coffee creamers, those store-bought coffee creamers, they're not good for you. And margarine. Although, does anybody still buy margarine? I don't even know if they still make it. I've never looked. I'm going to try to remember now. Gluten. I'm avoiding all grains, but gluten, which, by the way, side note, when you're not eating eggs, dairy, or grains, breakfast is a challenging meal, at least going out. But you want to avoid gluten. And I've had people tell me, well, our grandparents didn't have gluten problems. You're right. They didn't. But the wheat was different then. And they didn't eat a lot of, go look at your taco seasoning, or there's a lot of things in your pantry you'd be amazed that have gluten in them. In fact, gluten is not just wheat. Gluten is found in some other grains. So if you're concerned about it, you should really check your labels and go online and look it up. I'm really rambly tonight. I'm so sorry. It's been a hell of a week. So what can you eat? And by the way, you need to focus on what you can eat and not what you can't eat. But you can have fruits and vegetables. You want to aim for a variety and lots of colors. Seeds and nuts. Macadamia nuts, walnuts, pecans, almonds, all those things are so good. Healthy fats, avocados, nut oils, fish oil. I hate fish. I hate fish. I have to supplement because I hate fish. Pasture raised grass fed beef. It matters because you eat what your food eats. Think about that. You want to, you can have protein powders, but you want to avoid soy. Soy can be very inflammatory and very estrogenic in some people, not for everybody, of course. Now, if you're avoiding dairy, look for a rice or a pea protein. Like you can have a, I'm having a hell of a time. Oh, this is embarrassing. You can have fermented foods like kimchi or sauerkraut. And it's funny because I used to hate both of those things when I was younger, but I had a healthy, much healthier body. And now that I have all these inflammatory problems and autoimmune and this, that, and the other,